All right, hello students. I just wanted to give a quick review of what we talked about today in class in case you got kicked out. I just reviewed the schedule again, and again, today is a synchronous day. We have a Google Meet. I wanted to rough draft you so you could do some revisions. And I'm going to talk about 3 specific areas for revising. The first is dialogue and using the word said. I talked about how said is dead, and I'll talk a little more about embedded description. And then I'll talk about how do we paragraph and dialogue usage and balance. So those are the 3 things I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to use my narrative that I've been writing to help you with that. So I put this on Schoology. This link is on Schoology as far as what my story is about. And I'm going to try to move this, but it looks like it's not moving very well. I'm not sure why that is. But there it goes. Okay, so with this story that I've written, you can see I added a second lead just so you're aware of that in case you want to see a different one. But my story is called The Old Clark Station because that was the gas station where my dad punched my uncle's bully. And I wrote it again from the perspective of my uncle, and my dad is his older brother, and his name is Bobby. So I chose to start my story with dialogue. That's my interesting lead. And notice that when I use my dialogue, I don't say the word I said. I use a better verb like exclaimed or whispered or I started. Okay. I agreed gratefully. So there are many ways to use good verbs, and it's better to use something different besides the word said. And so on Schoology, I have this document where it shows that said is dead. And there are many different ways to use the word said, different synonyms that will help you. And there's many of them on the internet, but here's one that I gave you and I posted it on Schoology and it's on my slides. So that was the first thing I want to say is use something different besides the word said. So go back and look at your dialogue and see where you've done that. Secondly, I also talked about how it's good to use something different besides just like I said or I exclaimed. So in green, I have what we call embedded description. And what that does is it describes what's going on in the story without just using dialogue and description, like of the verb. So, hey, Bobby, I exclaimed. That's my dialogue with the tagline. And then after it, I explained what the tagline is saying, shaking him furiously, attempting to awaken him from his napping endeavor on the dilapidated couch. Here's another one. What's up? He whispered, as though in a thick fog. You don't have to do it every single time because that would be a little bit obnoxious, but the parts in green show a little more description, and we call that embedded description because it's embedding into the dialogue tagline about what and how the person is saying it and what they might be doing with it. So that's a second thing for you to work on. And that's all involved with helping dialogue. So that was number 1. How do we improve our dialogue? We add better verbs and we add description. My second thing I had talked about was I wanted to talk about how do we paragraph. That's my second thing here. How do we paragraph? Okay, so if we go back to the narrative itself, I just want to know that like paragraphing, just anything goes. Okay, so this is not a strict essay where there's an introduction, a first body paragraph, and a second body paragraph, and a third body paragraph, and a conclusion. Really, paragraphing is however you want to do it. Sometimes even 2 sentences are a paragraph, because if you feel like that's a good place that you want a little pause and you want to start a new idea or a new thought or a new character or a new change of settings, great. So paragraphing is really up to you. There are no set paragraphs. If you have a really long one, you're probably going to want to break it up or break it down because you don't want too much writing. It kind of breaks down in the reader's eyes. So where can you break it down? And that's really your choice. The second thing about paragraphing is that for every new speaker, you have to have a new paragraph. So you can see where I have my dad, my uncle, because it's from his perspective, he's the I. My uncle speaking is in yellow and my dad speaking is in blue. So my uncle says this, and then there's more description, and then he says this. So it's all in the same paragraph, and then there's more description and more narration about what's going on in the story. Then when my dad speaks, "What's up?" he whispered. In the blue, that's indented. It's a new line and it's indented. It's a new paragraph. And then there's some more narration. And then when my uncle speaks again, his is in yellow. So it goes my dad, paragraph, my uncle speaking, paragraph. I'm sorry, my uncle speaking first, my dad, and then my uncle again. Now, if you have things that are directly back and forth, like this one, here's one, and then here's one, they could be right after each other. Here's one, and here's one, and here's another one. And sometimes that's not the case, but every single time you have a new speaker, it's a new paragraph, and you indent. And then lastly, how are some ways that you can balance dialogue? Dialogue shouldn't be the whole part of your story. It shouldn't even be half or more. It should be more like a quarter of your story or an eighth of your story. So notice mine, I have some here, but I have some narration, and then I have some here, and then I have narration, and then I have some here, and I have some narration, and then there's a whole bunch of narration here, and then there's some more dialogue. So it should be a mix. There's more narration here, and here's more dialogue. You should have some dialogue, but it shouldn't overpower your story. You can also have things like thoughts, and when you have a thought, he's thinking, whatever, he's such a jerk. That you italicize it. Okay, so that can be another way of adding some stuff, to your story without being overpowering with dialogue. All right, so that's really what we talked about. And then we had teacher meetings. So again, the 3 things are to improve your dialogue, have better verbs and some description. For paragraphing, just make sure that you decide how you want your paragraphs. Don't have too many sentences at once, but really change when the thought or the mood or the characters or whatever changes, indent. Okay? And also when you're doing paragraphs, make sure new speaker, new paragraph. And then lastly, don't let your dialogue overpower your story or not have enough. So you want to do between like an eighth or 25% of your paragraph, or even 35. You just don't want to hit 50 or above. Okay? Have a good balance between narration and dialogue. And also you can do thoughts to help with that too. So, all right. Hopefully you guys understood that or got through that for today in our Google Meet. And if not, you can watch it here and watch it again as many times as you want to because it's so exciting. Have a great day. Thanks.